All right, here we go. Dr. Rachel Gregg is in the house, and we are talking about family immunity. Our goal is to give you solutions, give you tools to keep your family well during this time, which is like so important right now. If whether your kids are going to school or not, whether you're working from home or not, best thing we can do is kind of keep our stress levels down and keep our immunity up. And so the two of them are actually very much interconnected. So Dr. Rachel's going to talk about that. She's a doctor of pharmacy, is a wealth of knowledge about the gut-brain axis and really how everything works in the body. Everything is connected, that's for sure. So take it away. Let us know, what can we do to really, first of all, let's talk about the connection between stress and immunity, because I don't know if people understand, like, there's such a huge connection between the two.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. There's so many ways to look at it. And it's an honor to be here. I love talking about this stuff. So thank you for having me, Dale. So, yeah, a huge connection between stress and immune health. And one of the biggest pieces is the higher your stress levels, the lower your immune health is. So your ability to fight off colds, flus, viruses, anything really goes down when your stress is up. So the goal is not that we'll ever get rid of stress completely, but it's how can we build our ability to handle stress or stress resilience. So one of the best ways that you can do this is actually, may or may not have known, but through your gut. It houses 70 to 90% of your hormones and immunity. Your immunity is actually in your gut. So it's very important, and that's why they're linked, because if we can regulate the hormones in our body, we can regulate the immune system as well.
Wow. So interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think when people think of the gut, they think of digestive system.
Absolutely. And
I know.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So if the stress levels are high, what's going on physiologically in the body that's making it deplete the immune system? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So the hormone that regulates our level of stress is actually cortisol. So maybe you've heard of that fight or flight type of thing that happens in our bodies. Like if you're getting chased by, a bear, you release a lot of cortisol. And what happens when you have prolonged stress in your body, it may be lower level stress, but I think we're all feeling that right now.
Yes.
So much going on in the world. So that low level of that, almost that hum, that vibrational stress that we all have, is causing that cortisol level to go up. And when that cortisol level is high, it actually causes our other hormones that help keep us healthy to be lower than they should be. So we don't have the ammo or the fighters to back us up when our cortisol is continuously at a higher level.
Yeah. So typically it should go down at certain times. Like when you wake up, it should be low. And as the day goes on, it should be high and low again.
Yeah.
And can you explain how it affects like other areas like sleep?
Yeah. Oh my God, that's such a great thought, because if we're not sleeping, right, we're probably more stressed. We're probably getting sick more often. So what happens when cortisol is high, you actually have lower levels of serotonin. And serotonin is actually, if you want to look at it as a building block to producing melatonin in our bodies. So I'm sure a lot of people have heard of melatonin, but that's the connection between serotonin and melatonin, is you need enough serotonin to make enough natural melatonin. The synthetic supplements out there, sorry to break it to you all, but they don't work. So what we need to do is find ways to lower our cortisol levels or stress levels to allow the serotonin to be higher, so we can produce the melatonin in our bodies naturally, that our bodies actually know how to handle, to metabolize, if you will.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And then serotonin, I think that's really interesting, because I wasn't thinking of it in that way. Mm-hmm. But I think of serotonin, I think of that good feeling chemical neurotransmitter. So talk about that a little bit, because that's super important in what we're talking about as well. It's kind of like this, everything's kind of connected.
Yeah, so that's where it gets so like I mentioned, 70, I've heard anywhere from 70 to 90% of our serotonin is actually housed in our gut. A lot of people think it's up here, but it's actually down here. Anyone out there that maybe is or has been on an antidepressant, one of the biggest side effects is actually stomach issues. So that's why it's such a huge deal to heal the gut, because that is how you allow hormones like serotonin to be used by your body appropriately, efficiently, and effectively. So it not only helps with the sleep cycle, but obviously it's going to help with that happiness, because serotonin is that happiness hormone. You're like, have you taken your happy pill? I used to hear that, when I was in the pharmacy about people with their antidepressants, and that is what it's doing. But the problem with taking a drug to fix the problem is that it shuts your body down, where what you really want to do is you want to get your body to learn how to produce it, not suppress.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Super interesting. So the sleep, again, I'm going back to sleep because I never really understood that until now. What you're saying about the serotonin is kind of like a precursor to melatonin. So it's like, I love to do that, like go to the root of it and let your body produce what it needs to. But also if you have high stress levels, high cortisol, and you can't sleep, that's also going to affect the immune system, because at night when you're sleeping, that's when the body repairs, right, and rejuvenates.
Yeah, so it's this double, like, really, some people want to know what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Like, am I not, when they look at the symptoms of the problem, like, well, am I not sleeping because I'm stressed, or am I stressed because I'm not sleeping? And what we really should be talking about is like, well, how can we reduce the cortisol levels? So you're reducing your stress and you're going to be able to sleep, because it's not suppressing those other hormones that allow you to get the sleep that you need.
Wow. Love it.
That.
Yeah, that's totally like, that's just like, I got it. I got it. All right. So teach us what we can do to rebuild the gut, because everything's going back there.
Yeah.
What we can do to rebuild it. And firstly, before we go there, talk about we know that stress causes imbalance in the gut, but name some of the other things that we're exposed to daily that also affect that gut.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, any foods that you eat, certain food groups that cause inflammation. So my three big ones are gluten, sugar, and dairy. Very inflammatory, very harsh on the guts. And these tend to be the causes of many issues for people that, have autoimmune condition all the way up to, anxiety, depression, even more serious things going on. So what's happening is you're having a constant cause of inflammation in the body. So foods, absolutely. Chemicals that you may be around. So could be what you're cleaning your house with, what the schools, which this is a concern of mine with, of course, we're sanitizing more than ever right now. What are we using? What products are we using? Harsh chemicals.
Wow.
And then our kids are sitting in a classroom for hours and hours and hours on end, or we are in an office building. So those are huge, huge things. And then, of course, just even walking outside and just the pollution of, cars driving, and just pollution in general. But looking at food, looking at the cleaners that you're using are two things that you do have some control over. Looking at, like, trying to eliminate things that you do have some power over. And those are two things: is eating whole foods, fruits and vegetables. Are you buying organic when you can, so you're avoiding pesticides as much as possible? It's just really trying to, your water. Are you drinking filtered water? Do you have a filtered system, in your refrigerator or your sink? So that's a huge deal too, especially for people that live in the city, because they're always treating the water, and they don't necessarily tell you we've treated the water with certain chemicals to make sure that there's not an overgrowth of different things. So
Wow.
yeah, there's so many things. It's not to overwhelm people, but it's kind of open your eyes up to, okay, I never thought of that. Maybe I can start, making my own cleaner at home to start, and things like that. And then maybe you can make suggestions, to your kids' daycare or, depending on the guidelines that they have to follow. But maybe there's an opportunity, because I'm sure there's a lot of kids with breathing issues that can't handle some of those cleaning products.
Right. And that's huge. I mean,
yeah,
it makes me cringe when I'm thinking about these little children, like being in rooms with all this smelly all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we think it needs to smell a certain way, right?
Yeah.
There's so many people out there I've talked to, and they're like, if it doesn't smell like Clorox or Pine Sol, it's not clean. I'm like,
Oh gosh.
So, and that can wreak huge havoc on our guts. It can really damage the gut lining over time, as well as the food. If we're eating foods, I always tell people, it's like every time you eat, you can either be, helping your body be healthy, or you literally can give it a punch in the gut by what you eat in your body.
Yeah, just being mindful of that for sure. It's like nutrients or anti-nutrients.
Exactly.
Yep. All right, so let's talk about what we can do specifically to kind of reestablish that gut. So I want to put this clinical study that we've done, and this is the protocol that you use with patients and clients. So can you talk about this clinical study a little bit?
Yeah, so this clinical study is on what's called our fundamentals. It's a 3-step process. And this took a look at mood states in people that just did placebo, and then people that were on the fundamentals for 30 days. And it looked at how it reduced tension, depression, anger, fatigue, confusion, and vigor. So I think those are huge things. Like, just imagine if you could reduce your anger by 54%. It's just your confusion, like the vigor, like the energy. Like, vigor is just, the opposite of exhaustion, of being sick. It's just like you have the energy to do the things you want to do on a daily basis. And there's not a way for us to get more hours in the day, but we can get more quality in those hours. So what it does is it actually populates the gut with good bacteria. So that's kind of step 1, which I have the powder in physical form, but the mentibiotics that's in our has a really good quality probiotic and a prebiotic. The prebiotic actually feeds the probiotic that's actually in this powder. So the actual strains that are in this product are actually working on anxiety and depression, and that helps. I believe it's about 55% has helped reduce symptoms. They really started doing lots of studies on probiotics and specific strains of those probiotics, and they found that these particular strains that we decided to use are very effective with anxiety and depression. So not only is it balancing out the gut, but it's also has the ability to balance out the brain. So you see mood states improve. Kids that may have anxiety themselves, adults that have anxiety, it works, for anybody. So it's really critical. Probiotics are not just, primarily you'll hear it for digestion, but they're doing more and more studies on different uses for probiotics beside just digestion and keeping the stomach not upset. So that's a really great product as well. It has phytonutrients in it. So you're getting antioxidants as well. So it's actually helping reduce inflammation in the guts. And then we have the zinc. This is actually the food for the in between the brain and the gut. So what this actually does is it helps heal leaky gut, which is a huge issue for people, which happens over time. Could be the food or any of the other toxins that I mentioned earlier. causing damage to the gut lining. You get perforations, you get literal holes in your gut. And that's the leaky gut. You actually have toxins that flow back into the bloodstream. So if you've ever known somebody who had a septic event, they were fine one day and then they just had a raging infection in their body, that's what's happening. So the Sync product is actually able to, with phytonutrients like vitamin C, improves the immune system as well as healing the gut. So there's 3 different ways it does that. I won't go too in depth with all of that, but it primes your immune system. So right now, we're coming into fall, kids that might be going back to school, might not, but they might just be getting more active with other kids again. Immune systems are down. So this is something that you could, add into their routine, especially, teenagers and adults as well. So that's a great product. And then we get into the focus. So the focus is the brain food, as I call it. It improves your memory, it improves blood flow, enhances brain activity. And this also has phytonutrients in it as well. So you're getting antioxidants, you're continuing to help feed the body with things that are going to lower inflammation. You lower inflammation, you lower disease, which includes stress, all the things. It improves your immune system. So you're feeding the gut, the brain, and then that connection in between. I usually call it railroad tracks, just so you can kind of get a visual of, if you break the tracks, you can't go from point A to point B and back again. So yeah, that's just a quick synopsis of the 3-step program, but it's really, it's just amazing. Everything starts in the gut. Disease starts there. And if you can find a way to limit that, you're not only keeping yourself healthier, but you're reducing your stress, and you can tolerate more stress if you have to.
Right. Can you talk a little bit about priming the immune system? Because I know people are like dosing with, vitamin C and echinacea and various things.
Sure.
And I know that there's a difference. And personally, when you're in like an acute phase, maybe be doing the vitamin C, but you don't want to. So can you explain that a little bit? Because I think that's really important for people to understand.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. So there is a difference, and it's very important. It might seem little to some people, but it's really a huge difference. So boosting your immune system is what you want to do short term. If you've been around somebody who's sick, or you're starting to feel like a sore throat, or you're just like, oh, I feel like, how you feel usually before you get sick. You just have that feeling. So that's when you add in the vitamin C, the echinacea, the zinc, because what happens is that kind of revs up the immune system and gets it like kind of an overdrive. So it's going to start going after things. If you're not getting sick, it's going to start kind of attacking your body in some ways. So almost like an autoimmune response. Priming is basically, it's a proactive way of strengthening it. So it's pretty much like going to the gym and lifting weights for your body. And you need to have the strength to move something out of the way or pick something up. So it's just you have that muscle, but doesn't necessarily you don't need to use it that moment, but you're strong enough that when it's needed, you have the tools to, okay, I'll take care of that, get it out of the way. And that's kind of what your immune system's like, we can clean that up. We're done.
That's such a cool analogy. That makes so much sense to me.
Yeah. When I first heard priming, I was like, and then I started really looking into it. I'm like, that's exactly what it is. It's just, you have the muscle memory, if you will. And if you need it, it's there to kind of clean it up and scavengers, but it doesn't go into crazy overdrive. So, yep.
Right. That totally makes sense. It's amazing that, we have this immune system that really will work for us, but we have to keep it healthy. Yes. So let's talk a little bit about our children who also can benefit greatly from this, absolutely the same thing, pretty much. Yes. Except like one ingredient is different, right? In the kids' fundamentals.
Yeah, the kids' fundamentals still great. It doesn't have as much of a product to help with leaky gut, because kids are able, their guts are able to heal, and replenish a little bit faster than as you get older. I mean, if there was some need, a child could do the sink at a very lower dose if needed, if they, if it was something that, special circumstances, but primarily the kids' fundamentals will do the job for them because they're young enough and spry enough and their cells are replenishing really quickly because they're growing.
So can you talk a little bit about, like, definitely, we talked about the immune response and how repopulating the gut is going to help to create that strength and help and strengthen that immune system. But for children, like with focus issues, can you talk about what's the connection there?
Yeah, so same as with adults, like there's the specific strains of those probiotics. And if you can replenish those good bacteria into their bodies, that's going to help with the ability for them to focus, calm. It calms them down. It's like a natural calming agent, basically. That's what that strain of a probiotic does. So it's just that gut-brain connection. You're calming things down in the gut, and then the side effect of that is in the brain. You're actually calming the brain. So,
and I think with kids, like, they're very much like in tune to their bodies. So typically, yes, they will have like gut issues. They'll be like maybe constipated, or they're always saying my tummy hurts, or they don't want to eat that well, or so they usually understand, they can express it in a physical way, but they may not necessarily be able to say, I feel anxious, or I can't focus, or that kind of thing. Like, they wouldn't use those words like a small child.
Yeah, that's a good point. They just don't know. They don't understand that verbiage at that level, but they know, like, they just know that their stomach hurts, but they know that they're also like scared, or, right, maybe in that sense, you can start to get them to talk a little bit about what's really causing their tummy ache. And parents don't really think to ask those questions. You just assume, their stomach's upset. They ate something they shouldn't have, or whatever it might be. But really, it's just their anxious stomach. It's directly linked to, because you have more of that serotonin in your gut than you do your brain. So it's, there's just, and all those other chemicals that are in your gut. So that's where you feel it first. So, but as we learn more and more about the gut-brain connection, I think I'm hoping that more and more, parents are like, could it be that maybe they're anxious? And us teaching what we're teaching, hopefully more people see this and they're like, I never thought about that. Light bulb moment. That's my hope.
Yeah. Yes, that's my hope too. And we've seen so many stories of kids that were really maybe behavioral problems, or they couldn't focus in school and they were just like bouncing off the walls.
Yeah.
And once you get their gut back in balance and repopulate it, all of a sudden they're calm, they're focused, so I'm on a mission to get this information out into the hands of parents. It's so vitally important. And we have many, many stories that we can show you. We have interviews with parents. I do interviews here on my page on Tuesdays. So for those of you that want more information, that want to give this product a try, do it. We have a money back guarantee with our products. Comment more info. Person that invited you to this event will get you started. It's definitely worth a shot. Let me tell you, we are seeing phenomenal results, both with people with autoimmune issues, people with stomach issues, people with anxiety, low mood, low energy, not able to sleep, all of those things. It's incredible that they all go back to the gut. It's just crazy, crazy, crazy. So let us know again, if you want information, just comment info and we will get back to you. So anything else you want to add, Dr. Rachel, I appreciate you spending the time with us here tonight.
Yeah, my pleasure. I just, take this information and just remember, this is a learning that your gut is your, it's the second brain, but in a lot of ways, I think it's the first brain. It just really controls a lot of things. So just don't ignore it, and definitely look into doing this because it's a game changer. It's a life changer. And, imagine getting sleep, imagine lowering your stress levels, just imagine not being sick as often, like so many things that, you just wish you could change and you'd give anything for instead of having to get a drug to do it. It's like, imagine if you could naturally heal your body.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And prevention is key, right? Especially now.
mm-hmm.
Like if you did get the virus, if your gut was in balance, you would be able to fight.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to do, is get your body primed, get your immune system primed, keep your stress levels low so that doesn't pull your immune system down. So they're all just really, really connected.
Yes. 100%.
Awesome.
Well,
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you. Have a great night, everyone.